how free do you feel when you want to leave your job, but you can't because your healthcare benefits are tied to that work or tied to that job? I mean, freedom, again, is an interesting way of framing it, because I would venture to say that there's a significant portion of the population in the United States, significant portion of workers in this country that do not, in fact, feel free, in fact, have experienced the precarious nature of a capitalistic system that forces them to work endlessly, if they're lucky, in a full-time job, if they're unlucky, in several part-time jobs that they cobble together with no benefits just to make ends meet.
First of all, nobody is forcing you to go to work, okay? To work endless hours. What is this, back in the 1900s? Working, forcing you to work? Cobbling up the hours part-time? Yes, if in the job that you're in, maybe it's because, you know, it just depends on what sector of the, you know, of the job market are you in. Is there room for advancement? Do you have the educational certificates or the educational experience, or just even the on-the-job experience to try to get to a position where you can increase your hourly wage, to get to a managerial position, or to have the experience that a company needs to get that higher wage, or to be promoted to a managership position or an assistant manager position, or those kind of things. And then Anna talks about in terms of where you can't move because of, that's just the way the law is right now. Again, fix the laws if you want to do that, okay? Have the ability to buy, you know, insurance across state lines like we can do with other types of insurance. Have the ability to, you know what, to address it that if you do move from one job, your insurance can move. I mean, these are policy questions that can be advocated for. But to say that this is because, you know, this is why capitalism sucks and you have no freedom to do anything. You've got the freedom to move. Yes, sometimes you've got to be in that job until another position arises, or you can. People do that all the time in a capitalist society. They're moving up and down. They're leaving jobs, you know, gaining. Sometimes the next job they have to take, maybe there is a salary cut or a wage cut, but the opportunity might be better in the long run. People make those decisions. They have to make those decisions every single time that they decide on what it is that they want, how much they want to work, and how much time they, and like I said, is employers tell you got to spend a certain amount of time there. We're going to give you a certain amount of money for spending that time. That's the way it is.
Yeah, let me give you 30 seconds because I want to move on something with that.
I'll just say I think that there's a bit of a definitional game that's very often played with the word freedom. Freedom obviously has two separate meanings. Isaiah Berlin talked extensively about the difference between positive liberty and negative liberty. What you're talking about are things that people need and things that people want, and that is not the same thing as liberty.
I'm talking about what people need. People need health care.
I don't disagree that people need health care, but to characterize that as a freedom is a very different thing. If the goal of the government is to provide you the opportunity to seek things, right, then that is not the same thing as the government providing those things to you directly. Nor is it the same thing as the government seizing that thing from one person and giving it to you here. To characterize it as freedom is a real mischaracterization. Again, I'm happy to discuss whether or not we should change the programming here, but I think that the sleight of hand that's played by equating freedom of speech, for example, or freedom from being murdered on the street, or freedom to dispose of your capital as you see fit, to characterize that in the same language that would use to discuss why you need a house, it's a difference in kind. It's apples and oranges.
Yeah. So let me just quickly
Okay, go ahead. I want to ask you a question.
And that's what Ben was talking about. Needs, wants, desires, and to equate a need as a constitutional right, as the progressives would like you to imagine, that, you know, housing is a human right. Having a car is a human right. Mode of transportation is a human right. Health insurance is a human right. I mean, these are the things that they said. There's nothing like that enshrined in the Constitution. Okay, and to have government, and he said, if you want to have that policy discussion, that's a whole different thing. But to do that would be to disincentivize people, disincentivize businesses or whatever, and would really cause a situation that you're seeing what's happening in Europe right now with the stagnation of their economies, because they have put so much money into the social net fabric of their country by taxing their citizens up the freaking wazoo. And listen, they tax us pretty damn heavily here in the United States as well.
Go ahead.
Because, you know, this idea of taking something from one person and giving it to the redistribution issue, which I think oftentimes is framed inaccurately.
Never.
When we talk about redistribution of wealth, I mean, look at the amount of money that gets invested by our federal government in the form of research and development, whether we're talking about pharmaceutical companies or even companies like Tesla. The seed money from Tesla did not come from private investors. In fact, the same year that Obama's administration invested in the failed Solyndra project, they also invested the same amount into Tesla. And guess what? Tesla ended up being a massive success. The only downside to it, though, is that now you have Elon Musk who's whining and crying about having to pay his fair share of taxes when, during the pandemic, he became, for a brief period of time, the richest man literally in the world, right? So,
and just for clarification, when recently Elon Musk just ended up paying, taxes, it was the largest amount of taxes ever paid in the history by any entity, corporation, company, or individual. It was in the billions, multi-billions of dollars that he had to pay because I think those stocks certificates had matured or something like that in terms of the Tesla stock. And as far as Anna talking about the government investing in agencies, and look, I'm against subsidies or whatever, but that's just the way, unfortunately, there's a lot of things that the government spends its money on that I don't like. And we're on conservative, we're on the right. So there's a lot of things we don't like because it seems that they're spending it on ideas and policies that the left institutes. And there's a ton of things that if you ask progressives and leftists to say, they don't like it taking their tax dollars and spending on entities and policies or whatever that they feel are on the right or on the conservative side. So there's always going to be that battle. But there is this battle, and it is true that there is a redistribution of wealth that is going from the top, that is going to the bottom. And I'm not talking about the ones, the social safety net that everybody needs or that needs to be contributed to. We're talking about just a redistribution of wealth that is going to people and entities that has no absolute business going to at all. Anyways, let's continue.
I agree with you about subsidies, by the way.
Right.
Yeah.
So
welcome to libertarianism.
So look, those investments need to be made. That research and development needs to take place because private investors are not willing to take the risks necessary. It's true.
That's fundamentally untrue.
The federal government's research and development is what led to the internet. I mean, it's a huge part of it.
The fact that the government is a grab bag of cash does mean that the government will eventually invest in some things that are worthwhile. It will also invest in an awful lot of enormous piles of crap,
Okay,
right? The fact is, if you don't bear the risk of the downside, you're going to make a lot of bad investments.
We got a few more questions, and I want to get through, and we've got...
Just want to end it here. Ben, in that closing statement, basically says that that's true. If anybody out there that started a small business or a business, whatever, you have to accumulate the money somehow. So either you earned it, maybe it was inherited, but the majority, you did something, you worked or you invested, you reaped the benefit of your work, reaped the benefit of your investment, you got that money together, you put some of your money, you go out, you seek a loan. If you need to, you get that loan. Now you're risking the money that you made, you're risking the money that you're going to loan for. Now you have an idea put forth together and you invest it out there in a business. If it goes well, great. You can take that formula and repeat it and continue to invest, continue in other business or the same business, continue to grow. But there's no safety net for you if it fails. If it fails, you lost the money that you put in. You lost the money from your loan, which you have to pay back, or you go into bankruptcy, or all the other things that can happen. But if you're the government and you have an endless supply of cash, it doesn't matter if you have a, billion or multi-billion-dollar boondoggle. Who cares? You're always going to be getting in money. It doesn't matter. If not, you print it like they're doing. So there's absolutely no incentive for the government to basically take a look and really say, here's a project that's really going to work. Here's a project that has some concern. There's a lot of risk over here. Let's decide not to put our money over here. We're going to put the money on the side where the risk is less. But they don't do that. They just throw the money at everything. And of course, some things are going to work, but the majority aren't. Like it's a cylinder. We could go on and on and on with the amount of government fails. And like I said, government success is very, very, very few. Anyways, folks, Thanks for watching this part of the debate between Anna and Ben. It was part 7. And you've been watching the Dr. Nasir Shaikh Show. I've been your guest host. My name is Dr. Nasir. Like, share, and follow us. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. Hit that notification bell. And I'll leave you with my final and parting thought, which is, when you're right, you're right. And when you're left, you're wrong. We'll see you again next time, folks. Take care and stay safe.